is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy? That's what everybody's asking today, this Monday after the college basketball weekend continued to explode. Is it the NCAA? Is it the NBA? Is it the one and done rule? Is it our reluctance to pay players their market worth in college basketball? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Everybody is looking for the bad guy. Over the weekend, when I left you on Friday night, Sean Miller's phones apparently have been tapped. Sean Miller is not coaching the University of Arizona basketball right now. Sean Miller might need to be worried about whether or not he's going to be in cuffs, much less in a sweaty shirt on the sidelines. And the world wonders, what will the NCAA tournament, what will March Madness look like? Will we have our marquee names? Will we have our Kentuckys, our Dukes, our DeAndre Aytons? Will we have our big-time programs and our big-time players? But until that time, let's just figure out who's the bad guy. Like I said, the names today, the targets of our ire are all over the place. It's the NCAA that's the bad guy. No, it's the NBA. It's our reluctance to pay players. No, it's the one-and-done rule. It's anti-capitalist. It's ageist. And let's not forget, when there's something we don't like now, it is, of course, also racist. Detroit Pistons head coach Stan Van Gundy was asked, what's the problem with the NCAA? What's going on in college basketball? And he directed his wrath directly at the NCAA. Yes, he says, coaches have some blame. And yes, we have a system that's broken. But it's the NCAA and those that want to keep college players in college. They are at fault. It's the one and done rule. That's what's at fault. And what's the motivation behind it all? Well, listen to Stan Van Gundy. Play this for me, Bubba, please.
Against them coming out, made a lot of excuses, but I think a lot of it was racist, quite honestly.
Okay, pause that right there. It's racist. The one and done rule, it's racist. That's what Stan Van Gundy is saying there when asked about the NCAA and what's going on with our college basketball corruption scandal. The one and done rule, it's racist. Now, I don't know what it is that in our modern condition, we want to find things we disagree with. We want to find things we dislike and attribute the worst of human motivations to them. Now, maybe you're right. Maybe when you do, you're on factual ground. Maybe you're on firm ground. But how do you know? Are you sure? Because you're casting a very large stone. Why is it everybody we disagree with is villainous? Why is it that nobody can simply be wrong? How is it we have the ability to peer into the souls of everybody we disagree with and go, you know what's wrong with that person? Their moral compass. You know what's wrong with that person? Their internal hatred. The one and done rule. It's not ageist. It's not capitalist. It's not anti-capitalist. It's racist. You know, it would seem to me that when you're peering into the soul of someone, it would seem to me that when you're judging the character of someone, you might be on a clear page of who you're talking about. Bubba, will you back that up one more time? Because I think the first time we played it, it jumped a little bit. Now, under my impression, Stan Van Gundy is talking about the NCAA here, right? It's the NCAA's one and done rule that's racist. Let me hear that again.
The people that were against them coming out made a lot of excuses, but I think a lot of it was racist.
Okay,
hold on
again. Hold again right here. All right, the people that are against college basketball players coming out. Well, okay, if he's going broad and he's going vague with the people, I guess I've got caught in a Bill Polian situation here. But I get to be Bill Polian and Stan Van Gundy has to be Will Cain, right? If you're saying they, you might need to define they. If you're using the people and we're looking into the souls of the people, it's kind of important then who the people are, right? Remember when Bill trapped me into that corner last week when we're talking about, what was it I was talking about? Oh, yeah, Baker Mayfield's character. I suggested to Bill Polian that Baker Mayfield seemed to be a little bit polarizing. Some think he's a great motivator of men. Some thinks he's a crotch-grabbing bad guy. And Bill got me because I used they. He said,
well, you keep saying those. Define those.
Right. And then I was like, Bill, I don't know. I read a lot.
Well, you keep saying those. Define those.
And I'd go back and I'd try to reassess my argument, and he kept getting me again. I'm in the corner. I don't know what to do.
Well, you keep saying those. Define those.
Can't, Bill. Although, if you've given me a show or two, I got those nailed down. I think even later in that show, Matt Leinart became my example of somebody who loved Baker Mayfield's character. And then the next day, Booger McFarland told me on the air that he thought Baker Mayfield was a bad guy. So, okay, there, boom. I got those laid out. I got the two ends of my spectrum here. Matt Leinart thinks he's great. Booger McFarland thinks he doesn't. But Stan Van Gundy, those people that are against college basketball players coming out, who are you talking about? Whose souls are you peering into? Who is it that's racist? Because this is in the context, by the way, of a diatribe about the NCAA. Now, here's the problem with saying that an NCAA one-and-done rule is inherently racist. Here's the big problem. Ready for this? The one-and-done rule? It's not an NCAA rule. That's not the NCAA. They didn't make that rule. You know who made the one-and-done rule? The National Basketball Association, the NBA, in coordination with the National Basketball Players Association, the union of the NBA. They're the ones that pioneered and championed the one-and-done rule. So if we're going to peer into the souls of someone, it would appear that we need to at least first identify who we are talking about. Who is it that we're judging? Whose moral compass is at question here? It's not the NCAA. It's the NBA and the National Basketball Association Players Association. That's who we're talking about. So, are they those we're talking about? Are they the people we're talking about here? All right, Bubba, let's go on. I've only gotten for the first 7 seconds of Stan Van Gundy. I need to give him a little more time. I want to hear the rest of what he had to say.
But I think a lot of it was racist, quite honestly. And the reason I'm going to say that is I've never heard anybody go up in arms about, oh my God, they're letting these kids come out and go play minor league baseball, or they're letting these kids come out and go play minor league hockey. They're not making big money, and they're white kids primarily, and nobody has a problem. But all of a sudden now, you've got a black kid that wants to come out of high school and make millions. That's a bad decision. But bypassing college to go play for $800 a month in minor league baseball, that's a fine decision? What the hell is going on?
Okay, I'll tell you what the hell is going on here, Stan. Here's the thing. You have correctly pointed to a hypocrisy. You have correctly pointed to a double standard. You have said over here it's okay and over here it's not okay, right? Over here in hockey and baseball it's okay, but over here in basketball and football is not. And I can see, just like you can see, the racial correlations. Hockey and baseball, more white students, more white athletes. Basketball and football, more black athletes. It's clear, yes, there's a double standard here, but why does it exist? Before we jump, let's be fair to everyone involved in this equation here. Before we jump to understanding their souls and understanding their motivations, could there be any other reasons this is handled this way? And for what it's worth, I shouldn't have waited 9 minutes to tell you this. I think the one-and-done rule is crap. I think the one-and-done rule is junk. And I think the one-and-done rule should go. I think the one-and-done rule is ageist, and I think the one-and-done rule is anti-capitalist. And if there's anything I'm for people being free to pursue their full market value as much as they can get paid for their unique and special talents in this world. But before I jump to understanding someone's motivations, what guides their decisions, the character and soul they possess internally, I want to know, is there any other reason there could be this double standard? It's clear there is a double standard. It's clear there's some hypocrisy going on here. But why? Are there any other reasons? I think I found a few. I'd like to share them with you straight ahead, and I'd like to hear from you. As always, if I'm wrong, 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. I'm going to tell you why. I think there might be a few other reasons that there's this double standard in how we treat college basketball and football players and hockey and baseball players. That's straight ahead on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Now ADT can help protect your family at home and on the go. Get started with ADT's best offer. An ADT starter kit and security camera installed free. A $449 savings, plus you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response. Go to ADT.com/podcast today to take advantage of ADT's best offer.
With 36-month monitoring contract, Easy Pay and QSP. Early termination and activation fees apply. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Offer ends April 1st.
I got so much I want to talk to you about this Monday. Honestly, you know what? The Jacksonville Jaguars, man, they made a good decision to re-sign Blake Bortles. And I'm not trying to give you some, contrarian hot take. I'm not trying to walk out on a limb here. I'm just looking at it dollars and cents wise, and I want to tell you about that a little bit later. This is just smart business to re-sign Blake Bortles the way the Jaguars did. And I want to talk about also the Houston Rockets, and whether or not they're a real threat to the Golden State Warriors. James Harden and Chris Paul are absolutely outstanding. I want to get all of that today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We're talking about the NCAA scandal every day. But look, on Friday, I left you on the show, and what we had at 6 p.m. on Friday was big names. We had Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Texas. We had all those big names. We had names like Miles Bridges. And then when I left you, the names got bigger. Sean Miller at the University of Arizona was reportedly caught on a wiretap on a conversation negotiating a $100,000 payment to DeAndre Ayton, one of the star basketball players at the NCAA level this year, who will be a top 3 draft pick, almost certainly a top 3 draft pick in just a few months. And we don't know if DeAndre Ayton took that money. We don't know if that money was ever completely negotiated and delivered. All we know is this scandal keeps getting bigger, and people keep looking for a villain. People keep looking for the bad guy. How has this happened? How have we managed to have a complete sham of amateurism, and what's the real culprit here? And it's been everything. Look, ageism, anti-capitalism, not paying players in college coaches. But Stan Van Gundy, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, in my mind, did what we do often today. We peer into the souls of our fellow Americans, our fellow human beings, and those that disagree with us, and we judge their moral character to the very core. Stan Van Gundy said that the one and done rule, which he thinks is part of the problem with this whole scandal, well, it's racist. I'll play it again for you so you can hear his entire argument. Here's Stan Van Gundy.
The people that were against them coming out made a lot of excuses, but I think a lot of it was racist, quite honestly. And the reason I'm going to say that is I've never heard anybody go up in arms about, oh my God, they're letting these kids come out and go play minor league baseball, or they're letting these kids come out and go play minor league hockey. They're not making big money, and they're white kids primarily, and nobody has a problem. But all of a sudden now, you've got a black kid that wants to come out of high school and make millions. That's a bad decision. But bypassing college to go play for $800 a month in minor league baseball, that's a fine decision? What the hell is going on?
Okay, so I said, first of all, I don't know who he's talking about here. Is he talking about the NCAA? Because the one and done rule is not an NCAA rule. It's an NBA rule and an NBA Players Association rule, the union that governs players in the NBA. That's who developed the one and done rule. If he's just saying those people who argue this, well, I've learned the hard lesson. Define the they. Define the those people, because Bill Polian caught me when debating him about that.
Well, you keep saying those. Define those.
All right. So, Stan, if you're going to judge the moral character of people, if you're going to peer into the soul, let's be clear about who we're talking about. But I do recognize there's a double standard in how we treat and talk about hockey and baseball players and basketball and football players at the collegiate level. So why is there this double standard? Well, let me offer you this first of all. In hockey and baseball, there is a highly developed minor league system that takes players from the collegiate level and sometimes from the high school level and gives them a home to develop their skills. By David Stern's own words, in 2005, I believe, when they adopted the one-and-done rule, what he was concerned about was 18-year-olds living the life of a grown man on an NBA schedule and being incapable both from a maturity, financial, and physical standpoint of really not only improving the league, but improving their own lives. He argued at that time that the Kevin Garnetts and LeBron Jameses of the world are the exceptions. The more likely scenarios are the Kwame Browns and the Eddie Currys and whoever else high school players came out and didn't amount to big careers. By the way, Eddie Curry made a ton of money, I think, when it was all said and done. So, and I'm sure Kwame Brown did all right himself. But that was David Stern's reasoning. It's not mine. I don't think that's the reason the one and done rule really exists. I don't think it's the benevolence of David Stern. I don't think it's the, let's make sure we're looking out for everybody and being fatherly to everybody that wants to have a career in basketball. Here are the two reasons the one and done rule was developed in my estimation. Number one, on the NBA side, because once again, this is an NBA and NBA Players Association rule. On the NBA side, collegiate athletics is a free minor leagues. It's a star-making vehicle. They would rather see Tim Duncan come out after several years of high-profile March Madness runs than a kid from high school that no one has ever heard of. Their stars are more ready-made after spending years in college basketball, something we pay attention to. This is times 10 in college football. College football is a star-making enterprise. It is a minor league for the NFL, and it's free to the professional league. They want to preserve that. They don't want players coming in and sitting at the end of the bench or washing out in 2 years. They want you coming in already developed. And when I say developed, I don't just mean on the court. I mean in your Q rating. I mean in your star vehicle making power. Second, why would the NBA Players Association be for this? Because the job of a union is to protect the job of the people in the union. High school kids coming into the draft aren't in the union. Guys already in the NBA, they're in the union. So what do the high school kids represent? A threat to jobs. They represent a threat to the people who are current job holders. Licenses and unions are designed to protect current labor from future labor. Do you think you really need a license to be a barber? To cut hair? Is that really about health and skill? No. It's about protecting the current barbers from it being a watered down field of barbers where everybody's offering haircuts. And yet hairstylists and barbers are some of the biggest licensed careers in this country. This is what a union does. And this is what the NBA Players Association is doing. Now, I'm not passing judgment. You can be for or against this, but I'm just telling you the way it is. So money is what motivates this. Money for the NBA, money for the NFL, star-making vehicles for these big institutions, and job-saving for unions. Race? Race doesn't apply to this. I see the correlation, and I want to be sensitive. I truly do. But there's too many obvious reasons on the surface to go peering into the soul of people that are creating these rules, especially when you don't really know or you're not really clear about who made these rules. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by State Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Phone lines are lit up. I want to get your feedback, as always. You know, think I'm wrong? I want to hear why I'm wrong, all right? Nobody lives in a glass house around here. Nobody's safe. Mostly me. All right, did the Jags actually do the smart thing by signing Blake Bortles? Dan Graziano is going to jump in here and hang out with me for a little bit. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All right, phone lines lit up on this NCAA controversy on who's the bad guy. What's the real problem here behind the entire equation? But right now, Dan Graziano is joining us in studio, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Dan, sitting here with me on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio. All right, let's do a little football.
Okay.
Just some nuts and bolts football before we get to the more, I guess, newsy and New York Timesy type stories going on in the world today.
If you will.
If you will. Blake Bortles' contract.
Yeah.
He gets a 2-year extension, something like $36 million. I think 26 is guaranteed, something like that.
26.5 guaranteed, which is $7.5 million more guaranteed than he would have already had on that $19 million option for 2018. So he gets a little extra cash thrown at him. The Jaguars get a little cap relief this year, and you know it looks like he'll be their quarterback this year. But I don't think anything happened with this contract that prevents them from making a different decision a year from now if they decide they need to.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this correctly. In the short term, this year, they've lowered his cap hit from roughly $19 to $10 million.
We haven't seen all the details, but in general, you can spread the cap hit out over the life of the deal up to 5 years. So let's say, just for round numbers' sake, let's say he got an $18 million signing bonus. You charge 6 on the cap this year, 6 in 19 and 6 in 20. So 6 plus his salary. So his cap hit, which would have been $19 million on that option, goes down. Again, once we see the structure, we'll see by exactly how much.
Yeah, and here's the real question. When we look at all these cap numbers, how committed, by reading between the lines on this contract, how committed are the Jacksonville Jaguars to Blake Bortles going forward?
Well, not 3 years committed. I think that's pretty important. We hear 3 years, $54 million. He could see all that money, but there's no guarantee beyond the $26.5 million. So if you think about $26.5 million, and again, once we see the contract, how much is guaranteed this year, how much is guaranteed next year, if any, we'll have a better handle on that. But assuming that there's either no guarantee or a minimal guarantee in 2019, then there's really no commitment beyond this year, because $26.5 million is a high price for Blake Bortles if that's all you ever pay him for 1 year. But it's not something that, if he's a disaster, would keep you from moving on.
All right. You sat down with DeMaurice Smith recently, president of the NFL Players Union, and you guys talked about a variety of things. Tell me what you think the biggest takeaway was from that conversation.
I was surprised to learn he was out talking to TV executives, at places like NBC and CBS and Fox, to get a sense of what they make of the declining ratings, the NFL's declining ratings. And he had a lot to say about declining ratings, and he said, the issue is TV in general. Just because of the way it's consumed now, everything's declining. So the NFL's decline in ratings, the league can kind of point to it and say, well, it's really not that bad when you look at it in context of linear TV being down overall. And they're right. But he said, you'd be crazy not to think that would eventually cost you. And in terms of analyzing it from a short-term revenue perspective isn't really the way to go. And he's talking on behalf of the Players Union, which wants a bigger stake in these kinds of issues in the next CBA. They want to be heard in terms of ideas they might have to help improve the situation, to help improve the league's television product to the point where the ratings go up. And he even held out the example of the NBA as a league whose ratings are going up at a time when everyone else's ratings are going down, and said maybe we need to look at the way their TV deals are structured. Maybe we need to look at the way their programming is presented to the general public, and maybe take some examples from that. So I found it interesting that the Players Association would be involved in a concern like that. It says a lot about where they believe themselves to be in terms of their power.
Okay, I got the green light here.
Okay.
So we've wanted to talk about this since you walked into the studio. I have a bit of breaking news here. This is from the New York Times. Roger Goodell is expected to fine Jerry Jones millions of dollars. The gist of the story is that because of his fight over the compensation package for Roger Goodell, and because of his fight against the suspension for Ezekiel Elliott, Roger Goodell is poised to fine Jerry Jones in the millions of dollars. Now, Dan, this has been actually like in the back of my mind, like every time we've been talking for the past 2 minutes, like I want to talk about this. This is huge, man.
Yeah.
This is massive.
Well, I think the thing you have to understand here is it'll look like Roger Goodell's mad at Jerry Jones for sort of being mean to him about the contract, and that may well be, but Roger Goodell's not going to impose a multi-million-dollar fine on a team owner unless the other team owners are okay with it. And what happened with Jerry Jones in terms of this commissioner contract situation was he really upset a lot of other NFL owners, coming in and threatening to sue them if they did the contract. I mean, retaining an attorney to sue them if they did the contract without presenting it to the wider body. I talked with team owners at the time, and they were very upset. They said, Jerry, this is not how you do business in our league. It's not how we deal with each other. So without knowing all the background, if Roger Goodell is going to impose a fine like this, I think the general public can and should understand that maybe it generated from the body of owners as opposed to just Roger Goodell wanting to find someone at whom he was angry.
Right, because it looks on the surface, as you pointed out, it looks like revenge. It looks like retribution for coming after Roger Goodell.
Which, and all throughout the whole situation with the contract, Jerry Jones publicly said, this is not retribution for the Ezekiel Elliott matter. But no one believed him. I mean, no one in the league believed what he was saying. They all thought it had, because his tone on the contract changed the minute Ezekiel Elliott was suspended. So we have a situation where an owner has spoken out publicly against the league on a matter involving player discipline, and an owner has tried to undermine, the league's desire to get a contract done with its commissioner. And if that's the case, then you have an owner that's acted in the judgment of other owners, not in the best interest of the league, and he would be subject to punishment.
God, this civil war just continues. I have no idea how this plays out, man. The most powerful owner in the NFL in a full-on fight, to your point, not necessarily with the commissioner of the NFL at this point. That's his fellow owners. That's who's behind this right here.
Again, they were very upset. The way Jerry Jones was acting last summer and fall with regard to the commissioner's contract extension once Ezekiel Elliott was suspended really aggravated the owners that were on that committee that felt like they had negotiated and completed a deal and were ready to do it, and they felt like Jerry Jones was coming in after the fact and trying to mess it up for a personal reason. And threatening to sue your fellow owner, that's like the worst thing you can say to these NFL owners. It reminds them of Al Davis, who drove them all crazy years ago. They exist by virtue of the concept of we're all in this together. and if one of them is going off the reservation on an issue like this, it aggravates them.
Again, credit to Ken Belson, New York Times writer. It's up on the New York Times right now. Roger Goodell expected to fine Jerry Jones millions of dollars. Before I let you go, Dan, do you have anything for me on this? It was last Friday during my show that this came up. Marcus Peters traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Los Angeles Rams. That's a big trade, but we still don't know the compensation.
Well, Schefter reported that earlier today. They traded Peters and a 6th rounder to Kansas City for a 2018 4th rounder and a 2019 2nd rounder. So it doesn't seem like a great
2nd and 4th
for Kansas City. A 2nd and 4th for Peters and a 6th. And again, the 2nd is not this year, but next year. So it looks like a good deal for the Rams, especially when you factor in the effect it has on the Rams salary cap. This is a $1.7 million cap hit for a Pro Bowl player at a position where they were going to lose Tremaine Johnson, who was carrying a massive cap hit by virtue of being a 2-time franchise player. So it's a great deal for the Rams, but it has to be at least partly and maybe mostly driven by off-field stuff with Marcus Peters. The Chiefs just decided this wasn't worth it anymore. He's about to get paid big money. We just don't want to deal with it anymore. And we saw what happened this year with him getting suspended by the team, throwing the flag into the stands. Some issues have come up. We see these things. Sometimes they're tip of the iceberg things, and there may be more going on behind the scenes. If Andy Reid and the Chiefs decided they didn't want a player this good anymore, and they traded him for this kind of return, there's got to be something going on more than what we know.
All right, Dan, appreciate your time today.
Anytime.
That's Dan Graziano. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Getting a quote is now easier than ever. All right, straight ahead, let's get into this civil war with Jerry Jones and his fellow NFL owners. And also, I sort of need to take a win. I mean, I take a lot of criticism, so I'm going to get my wins when they come. We're all a little quick to put the Cavs in the finals, weren't we? Who was right? Say it with me. Will was right. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is Will Cain.
If you want a show that only tells you what you already believe, this is not the show for you. If you want a show to reinforce what you think you know, this is not the show for you. All right, we got breaking news here on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Headline from the New York Times posted just moments ago. Roger Goodell expected to fine Jerry Jones millions of dollars. The article is by writer Ken Belson for the New York Times again. I'm going to read from you the top of this article so we understand exactly what's going on here. Because what you're looking at is nothing short of, I don't know if it's the launch, but it's the continuation of a civil war within the NFL. It really cannot be overstated that when billionaires within the NFL are fighting, and not just fighting, but fining and suing each other and dragging it all out into the public, you're looking at a threat to the biggest sports brand in the United States of America. You're looking at the kind of sibling fight that can threaten the foundation of the NFL. Here, I'll read from the New York Times. With the support of many NFL owners, Commissioner Roger Goodell is prepared to escalate his public feud with Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys and long one of the most influential people in the league, by fining him millions of dollars for his efforts to derail negotiations to renew Goodell's contract and for his outspoken defense of a star player who was suspended, according to 5 league officials with direct knowledge of the situation. The key to that paragraph, to me, is the first 6-7 words of the paragraph. With the support of many NFL owners. This is not simply Commissioner Roger Goodell versus Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. If it were just Roger Goodell versus Jerry Jones, it's not a fight. That is not two heavyweights squaring off against each other. That's an employer and employee getting in a fight. And let me tell you how that goes. Let me tell you who wins that fight. The one with the more zeros. Jerry Jones is Roger Goodell's employer. That is not who this fight is between. On the other hand as well, if that's who this fight was between Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones, this would look like nothing more than retribution, revenge for Jerry Jones questioning Roger Goodell's authority and his pocketbook, his contract. Imagine how that would look for Roger Goodell. He would be picking a fight he cannot win over an issue that makes him look petty. No. This is more than that. This is with the support of many NFL owners. That's the civil war that I'm talking about. I'll continue from the New York Times. The punishment will be issued in the coming weeks by Goodell, who will declare that Jones' actions were detrimental to the league. That's the key words. Jones' actions were detrimental to the league, which rarely shows such an acute sign of acrimony among owners in the commissioner's office. Goodell has been reluctant to be seen as exacting retribution for the way Jones tried to sabotage his contract talks. That's what I was just talking to you about. But he was urged to bring the penalties by several owners who believed that Jones had crossed an unspoken boundary by threatening his colleagues. Wouldn't you like to know what owners those were? Wouldn't you like to know the names of the NFL owners that were on the phone saying, Roger, I know this isn't a fight you want to have, and I know this is how it's going to look for you, but we need you to saddle up one more time and take Jerry on.
So would Jerry. Jerry would like to know those names.
I will tell you, Mike, Jerry does know those names. Jerry is not sitting here today wondering like Will Cain is. Jerry is somewhere making a list, okay? And that list, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what names are on that list, but I know this. You can ask Bob Lee, the general around here. You can ask Louis Riddick. You can ask the most in the know names, thank you, around here. There's about half a dozen NFL owners that actually pull the strings in the NFL. There are about half a dozen NFL owners that can say to Roger Goodell, hey, we're going to need you to take on Jerry Jones one more time. And it's not very hard to define who those are. By the way, while we're shooting, might as well say, I'm just speculating here. I bet you Arthur Blank's just not in. Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones just probably haven't completely made amends yet. So this is with the urging of other NFL owners. The punishment, I'll read from the New York Times again. The punishment will be issued in the coming weeks by Goodell, who will declare that Jones' actions were detrimental. I just read you that paragraph. I think I've got you caught up. It's about Zeke Elliott's fight, and it's about Roger Goodell's contract fight. That's what this is about. Here's what's interesting as well. This actually reminds me of, hey, Mike, while we're at it, will you find for me this? What's the biggest fine on an NFL owner in NFL history? Because we don't have a figure, but we have a word. Millions. That's what Goodell's going to be fined. Millions. I believe Mark Cuban was just issued the largest fine in NBA history for talking about tanking at $600,000. So what's interesting here is this. It's not about right and wrong. Jerry Jones might have been right to question Roger Goodell's compensation package. Jerry Jones, I think in many ways, was right to question Roger Goodell's unchecked authority and run around concepts like due process when suspending players in the NFL. But what we've become clear on with the NBA and Mark Cuban and the NFL here and Jerry Jones, it's not about right and wrong. It doesn't matter if you have the substance and the issue and whether or not you're right. All that matters is these words. Was it detrimental to the league? And there are times when honesty and truth are detrimental to the league. Mark Cuban just told the truth about what 8 or 9 owners are doing. But the NBA doesn't want you telling the truth. The NBA isn't interested in right or wrong. The NBA is worried about what's detrimental to their business. The NFL isn't worried about due process. The NFL isn't worried about whether or not Jerry Jones had a point. The NFL is worried about conduct that's detrimental to the league. That's what they think Jerry Jones has threatened. That's where the millions in fine will come from. All right, straight ahead, we're going to get that answer to what's the biggest fine in NFL history. And I'm going to take some credit for the Cavs.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast. This is the Will Cain Podcast on ESPN Radio.
Got breaking news from the world of the NFL where the escalation in the fight between Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones has just hit nuclear level. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. What we thought was over has somehow gone to DEFCON 1. Roger Goodell versus Jerry Jones. Headline from the New York Times. Roger Goodell expected to fine Jerry Jones millions of dollars. That's millions with an S at the end of the word. Millions of dollars. This is in response to Jerry Jones' fall-long fight with the NFL over two things. First, the suspension of Ezekiel Elliott, and second, the compensation package for Roger Goodell. The key to the story so far are the first 7 words of the story. With the support of many NFL owners. Yeah, it's 7. Just making sure, double-checking myself. That would be embarrassing, but it is 7. With the support of many NFL owners. Roger Goodell would not be escalating this fight if it were simply a fight between Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones. Roger Goodell would lose that fight. Roger Goodell would look petty and vengeful in that fight. He would look like he was just trying to get retribution for Jerry Jones making his life a living hell for the past 6 months. No, instead, this is big names. This is NFL owners. It would be easy to surmise what NFL owners, because there's only a handful that actually pull the strings in that league, are urging Roger Goodell to take up this fight with the support of many NFL owners who declare that Jones' actions, this is in the words of the New York Times, were detrimental to the league. How this all shakes out will be seen. But I asked before the break, I asked Mike A to grab me, what's the largest fine in NFL history? I've got the 3 largest fines for you right here. In 1996, between 1998, the Denver Broncos were alleged to have circumvented the salary cap. They were fined $950,000. During the Deflategate scandal, the New England Patriots were fined $1 million. And that is in a tie for the largest fine in NFL history because the San Francisco 49ers owner at the time, Eddie DeBartolo Jr., was fined $1 million as well for conduct detrimental to the league after DeBartolo pled guilty to a felony in his role in a Louisiana gambling scandal in 1999. So, millions with an S. We're looking at the largest fine in NFL history, and I might submit when you're talking about levying it on Jerry Jones, we're talking about one of the biggest fights in NFL history. We're going to be talking about this throughout the show. I'll keep you updated on that. But let's do this. I want to stay within the world of the NFL and talk about Blake Bortles' contract. Over the weekend, it was announced that Blake Bortles signed a 2-year, $36 million extension, $26 million guaranteed. And at first blush, it's like, how could the Jacksonville Jaguars commit themselves to Blake Bortles? What has Blake Bortles done to convince Tom Coughlin he's their quarterback of the future? But if you look closely, I think what you find here is one of the most sensible approaches to the quarterback market you're going to find this entire offseason. When this offseason goes absolutely bonkers for quarterbacks who are above average, the Jaguars just locked themselves in to sensibility. Kirk Cousins could get guaranteed money upwards of $90 to $100 million. A.J. McCarron as a fallback option is going to get a contract we're all going to sit back and laugh at. And Blake Bortles just got signed in for essentially $26 million over 2 years. Now, he was guaranteed $19 next year. $19 million. So an extra $6.5 million bought the Jaguars another year of Blake Bortles. And if they decide they don't want to keep him, it only cost them $6.5 million. What I'm telling you is they've locked themselves in for about $10 million this year. And in that process, they didn't lock themselves out of finding somebody else. Yeah, they could draft a quarterback to come in and compete with Blake Bortles, which is, I imagine, what they'll do. But when it's all said and done, after the first 3 or 4 quarterbacks are signed off the market, there's going to be a handful of these above-average guys that the Jags could come in and still have cap space and still have another $10 million to give to, I don't know, Sam Bradford, Tyrod Taylor. They could have 2 quarterbacks for $20 million while everybody is going bonkers to get one guy for $25 million. Now, you may be getting, 2 8s, which adds up to 16 in blackjack. Looks good at first, but doesn't pan out that well when the hand is played out. But they are being sensible about it. And you say, what does that leave out there in the market? Kirk Cousins, according to Vance Joseph, should come to the Denver Broncos because he says that the Broncos are poised to win. We've come to accept that. The Broncos are poised to win. Broncos were 5-11 last year. If you start looking at the quarterback market, and if you're Kirk Cousins, are the Denver Broncos really the place that's poised to win? Let me just lay this out for you. The Denver Broncos were 5-11. Here are the teams that are in the quarterback market. Arizona Cardinals. There's some reports today that the Arizona Cardinals might find Kirk Cousins a little rich for their blood. They were 8-8 last year, but their quarterback room is going to be absolutely empty. Blaine Gabbert, Drew Stanton, not under contract for next year. So they're going to have to find somebody to play quarterback in Arizona. The Jaguars were in the quarterback market. They're certainly not in the Kirk Cousins market after offering this deal, signing this deal with Blake Bortles. Minnesota's already a winner. How about the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, and the Buffalo Bills? The Buffalo Bills were winners this year. They're not poised to win. They're already winners. So who's poised to win? The Denver Broncos, the New York Jets, or the Cleveland Browns? That looks laughable at first, right? Cleveland Browns are 0-16. And the Denver Broncos, don't we remember them in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago? And the New York Jets, don't they have one of the worst rosters in the NFL? Well, let me just lay it out for you and you tell me which one you like best. The New York Jets have $92 million in salary cap space. They could sign Kirk Cousins, by some reports give him $60 million up front, and still have $30 million to spend on improving that roster. They could bring in Allen Robinson. They could bring in weapons for Kirk Cousins. They could improve their defense, which ranked 25th last year. And then going forward, in 2019, 2020, they would have similar cap space that they have this year because, well, Kirk Cousins' cap space got all eaten up this year. New York Jets aren't very good right now. They certainly have the room and flexibility to get better. In fact, the only team that has more cap flexibility than New York Jets? The Cleveland Browns. The 0-16 Cleveland Browns with $110 million in cap space. Not only do they have that, they have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. They have a 1 and a 4 overall. Now, I understand neither of those teams are very good. But here's what I want to ask you. Are the Denver Broncos really on the poised to win path? Or is this an old team getting older? Are we calling the Denver Broncos poised to win, a Super Bowl contender because of who they were 2 years ago? Yeah, they had a good defense this last year, but they don't have cap space. If they want to sign Kirk Cousins, well, they got to get rid of Aqib Talib. Or maybe Demaryius Thomas. Or maybe Emmanuel Sanders. Or maybe Derek Wolfe. All the things that we talk about having them in a position to say, Denver Broncos, they're on the verge. They got to get rid of some of that in order to keep Kirk Cousins or to get Kirk Cousins. I think we're giving the Denver Broncos credit for who they were and not looking at who the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns might soon be. If I were Kirk Cousins, I don't think the Denver Broncos are where I'd go if winning was my primary objective. I'm not saying the Jets and the Browns are where I'd go, but I'm not sure it's much of a worse scenario than the Denver Broncos. All right, straight ahead, I want to get back into the NCAA scandal. Who's at fault? Who's at blame? There's a lot of coaches pushing blame off on others, saying it's not their problem. Everybody today seems to be above questioning, from NCAA coaches to NBA coaches like Stan Van Gundy and Gregg Popovich. We'll get into all that straight ahead on The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Now ADT can help protect your family at home and on the go. Get started with ADT's best offer. An ADT starter kit and security camera installed free. A $449 savings, plus you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response. Go to ADT.com/podcast today to take advantage of ADT's best offer.
With 36-month monitoring contract, easy pay, and QSP. Early termination and activation fees apply. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Offer ends April 1st.
I'm going to keep you updated on this burgeoning civil war between Jerry Jones and the NFL, his fellow NFL owners. We'll keep you updated throughout the show. Right now, the headlines are from the New York Times that Roger Goodell plans within the coming weeks, perhaps months, to fine Jerry Jones millions of dollars for the fight he took up with the NFL this past fall. You can tweet the show through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Will Cain Show. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, the college basketball world continues to explode. Let's do this. Let's listen to the biggest voices in college basketball. Let's listen to them about how they plan to handle their scandal. How are they going to handle the fact that it's pretty clear the top programs are paying and the top players are getting paid to go play college basketball. What are we going to do about this? First, NCAA President Mark Emmert was on CBS Sports. Let's listen.
In the information that came out yesterday, which is still in a news report, it hasn't been validated by anybody, but let's assume for the time being that it's all good information. The way the process works right now is that under normal circumstances, the school would look at...
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Emmert. Way the process works out. Does anybody else hear Charlie Brown's teacher when he talks? It's just a wah, 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 wah. I mean, listen to this. And I'm just going to play a different cut. I'm not going to play the same. This is a big bag of nothing, randomly. I'm just going to pick. I got 5 of Mark Emmert's here, Nuno, you've given me. They're all orange. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to pick an orange one. Let's see if we can get anything out of it.
The fundamental principle is that this is not about student athletes playing a game to get paid. It's not about pay for play. It's about young men, young women playing these games while they are students at their universities.
What is he talking about? The problem is here, it's not here the same thing. It's the same thing. Mark Emmert, Charlie Brown's teacher, same sound. And it's not his fault. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice man, and I assume he has some high level of competency in his job. Here's the thing. It's not solvable. This is not a solvable problem, not under the current model of the NCAA. It just isn't, okay? You have a highly desirable market, that is college football and college basketball, that people want to watch. And you have, because of that, huge incentive to win and be on those biggest stages. From every school in the country to every player in the country wanting to be on those big stages. And then you have a cap on how much everybody can essentially spend on getting players to be good. Of course, people are going to cheat. Of course, they're going to work around the system. They have been forever. From the 1960s and UCLA to the 1990s when Blue Chips came out. Remember that movie with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal? Who else? Was Anthony Hardaway? Anthony Hardaway and who was the white guy? It was a white player, too, from Indiana. His dad got a tractor.
I don't think he was an NBA player. He was just a guy.
He was just a regular actor?
They were talking about it on Le Batard this morning, actually, this very thing. I think
Oh, really?
that guy played basketball in college professionally, but not in the NBA.
Oh, okay. This is a good movie. This has been going on forever. You can't fix this, right? All you can do is try to be honest about it. And if you want, change the system. Let's listen to Tom Izzo, head coach at Michigan State. One of his players, Miles Bridges, was named in this report.
You know, guys, I'll answer a question or two, but I just had a chance to win a championship, and I'm not going to answer many questions. I do have a long relationship with his dad, and this was done. I was not involved in this thing at all. This was our compliance people in the NCAA, and I thought they ruled quickly. Miles Bridges was not involved in this at all, and so this isn't going to be the time when I'm going to answer a lot of questions. I know that's important to you. It's really not to me. We just won a championship, and I'm going to try to stick to questions like that. I'll do the best I can, and understanding that you have the rights and the ability to ask, I hope you appreciate that I have the right and ability to not answer questions that some of them I don't even know about.
You know, man, it makes me, of all the things that like kind of get me going, it's when you just BS to somebody's face. Just look in their face and do nothing but spew BS. How many people listening right now are going, that's exactly what you do, Will? I don't, though. I'm here to cut through the BS. I'm here to give you the truth, okay? Maybe I'm wrong sometimes, and that's what your phone lines are for, 888-729-3776. But this is BS, Tom Izzo. This is BS, all right? It's not important to him. It may be important to you, but it's not important to him. The fact that college basketball is completely and utterly corrupt, and that a player on your team is one of those accused of taking benefits, what we call improper benefits in college basketball. It doesn't even matter if I think he should be paid. That's the nonsense of all these debates. All we can do is report through the prism of what we think should happen. Here's what I think. I think the one and done rule should go away. Maybe college basketball players should be paid. There certainly should be more freedom to go pro. There should be freedom to get transferred wherever you want, whenever you want. But I'm not going to act like, this isn't any big deal. This is important. I mean, rules are rules. Even if we don't like them, you got to live within it. And when does it become this thing where coaches, they don't have to answer questions? I'm really kind of above this. And these questions, they're really kind of little. It's not important. I'm celebrating a championship today. I mean, integrity is standing up. By the way, confidence. Are you right or wrong? If you're right, take the questions. It shouldn't be a problem. Tom Izzo's not alone, by the way. You want to get the dean of college basketball in here? Is he called the dean now? I don't know. That's Dean Smith, right? What do we call Mike Krzyzewski?
You don't want to know what I'll call him.
You're not a fan. Commercial break, Nuno. Do it during the commercial break. Here's Mike Krzyzewski.
Remember to judge the person who wrote the ledger. Is that a reputable, who wrote it? Do people lie in ledgers? I'm not going to ask any of you. Have you, on your expense reports, if you went to lunch and they didn't show up, did you order another meal? And because you were having lunch? I mean, all those things. That's why we're real comfortable with everything. We feel really good about what happened and how well the NCAA worked with us. They were fantastic in working with us. So, we didn't feel like we're taking any chances or anything like that. We're very, very confident about that particular thing.
This is just like an expense report? That's what this is? This is just like fudging your lunch bill on an expense report at your company? Fellas, I'm here to tell you, I can't do this through the prism of who I like and who I don't like, or what I think should happen or what I think shouldn't happen. I'm just here to tell you when it's true. You're getting BS'd straight to your face, okay? And then being asked to like it and have the privilege to be in the gallery. Can I be there while you lie to my face? Can I be there when you obviously subvert questions that are completely and utterly legitimate? College basketball system needs to be reformed, but truth-telling doesn't. You can tell the truth even when everything around you is falling apart. How do you fix college basketball? How do you do it? It's probably not possible. How do you do it? Let's solve that next on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is an extensive abuse of the current NCAA rule. The bigger question becomes, well, what is the NCAA doing?
The names are names of current and former players, of either them being given money or parents having things paid for or given advances. It's unbelievable.
It is going to really change college sports landscape.
Or we'll paper over it and pretend like everything's the same and we can just punish a few people, sweep it under the rug. That's the thing. It's one of two ways. It's a complete reformation of college sports as it is. It's a complete change in how we handle college basketball and college football. Or we say we got a few of the cheaters and pretend like it's gone while business remains the same. How do you fix college basketball? What I'm here to tell you is I don't think you can. Not without absolute fundamental change to the system. You cannot. The cheating is entirely too incentivized. The rewards are entirely too big for cheating. So how are you going to get it out? You can't. Gregg Doyell joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Gregg's been hanging out with this guy back during the Andrew Luck, Josh McDaniels issue. Gregg, you got an interesting column up that you wrote this weekend saying you have an idea for how we should go about beginning to fix what's going on with college basketball. Tell us about it.
Hey, Will, there's really, what's become apparent is there's only one way for the NCAA to get fixed, and that's the NCAA to get out of the way and let the FBI do their job for them, because NCAA hadn't caught anybody. The FBI is the one that busted open some cheating about 3 or 4 months ago, and if we really want this sport to get fixed, and I agree with you, it'll never be fixed unless they just redo the whole damn thing. Only the FBI and their subpoena power can do it, and which leads to another question. Well, is that what we want the FBI to do? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying everybody talking about, well, what if this would work? Get rid of the one and done, this and that and the other thing. Nothing's going to work unless the FBI gets involved and threatens jail time.
Yes, or, and I think you just agreed to this as well, or we just say this idea of scholarships being the only form of payment for college basketball players and football players is done with and over. We're going to have to somehow give them some bigger piece of the pie, some closer approximation to market wages, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, but you know what about that no one's kind of thought the next step ahead, and I really haven't thought about it too much till this moment. But let's just say they start giving money to players. Still, there's going to be the best 20 or 30 players every year coming out. And if every school is equal, if every school can give that kid $3,000, well, who's going to win them? The school that cheats and gives them $100.
Absolutely.
There's always going to be cheating. Paying the players might be fair to the players. Yes, it might. But it's not going to stop the cheating.
No, you're absolutely right. I was thinking about that as well, Greg. I mean, it's funny if you listen to everybody's recommendations. Well, like you said, give them $3,000 or give them $60,000 or give them the scholarship or this. The problem is, Greg, it's all going to be below what they could get if they went to the NBA for some of those players. And so as long as it's less than they can get anywhere, there's going to be somebody incentivized to say, okay, here's a little more extra than we're allowed to give you so that they can win. The only thing I can think is this. First of all, you got to let them go wherever they want. Go to the NBA, go to college, whatever they want. And then when they choose college, it's a choice to get compensated in that manner. I mean, that's the first step. I don't really know the second step, but I think that's the first step.
Well, that step isn't even the NCAA step to make. It's the NBA. They're
Absolutely.
the ones keeping out, right, the high school seniors. But there's only 60 draft spots, and even if there's 5,000 draft spots, there's only 5-10 high school kids every year the NBA is even going to look at, much less draft. So you still have whoever the best of the best remaining players are, those are still the ones that are going to make the difference in college basketball. They're still going to get cheated over. So I go back to my original thing. The only way to even possibly curtail this, and it's never going to stop, but just like the FBI getting involved has, and you'll see going forward, I think, I mean, it'll scare coaches straight because it used to be, well, I'm going to risk NCAA violations because I want to win, I want to get that big contract. Yeah, but are you going to risk 3 years of the jail cell with Bubba? I'm not sure you're going to risk that. Same thing with players and agents cheating with high school kids. Until we start putting agents in jail and even high school kids and their parents start threatening them with some sort of jail for cheating, they're going to keep on doing it. And I'm not saying we ought to threaten them with jail. I'm just saying that's the only way to do it.
Right. And in your column, you talked about this is going to have to extend all the way into high school, right?
Well, that's where the cheating begins. And, you know, the college basketball ineligibility and NCAA crisis and all that stuff that the Yahoo and now Mark Schlabach of ESPN, they're breaking open. A lot of those names on the list of that one agent, all that cheating happened in high school. Because unlike football and Major League Baseball and in fact, unlike almost every other sport, basketball is the one where you can look at a kid in high school, and if he's good enough to be an NBA star, you know it already. Like, you know it. And if you know it, and the recruiting analysts know it, the agents know it, and they're throwing money at these kids. Like Zion Williamson, I hope he's clean. I'm sure he is clean. But you don't think agents know that he's going to be an NBA star in about 2 years? You don't think they're trying to make him cheat? There's a kid in Indiana named Romeo Langford, top 5 recruit, is down to Kansas, Vanderbilt, and Indiana. You don't think agents are trying to cheat with that kid? Because that kid will be in the NBA in about 18 months. Of course they're trying. The question is, who's saying no? And it's real easy for folks to sit back and say, well, just don't, say no and wait 12 months and blah, blah. Yeah, well, try being that poor. And I don't even know if any of those players are poor. I just know that a lot of people are poor. Try being that poor and having $80,000 thrown at you. You'll catch it. Who wouldn't catch it if you're poor?
So this is good, Greg. I like where your head's at on this. There might be, okay, I think we agree on this. Okay, you got the one option that the FBI is just always ever present in college athletics and is always threatening potential jail time. That's how you clean up cheating. You're right. My idea of, well, first of all, just let them go to the NBA, that doesn't solve it because there's still big-time TV for college basketball and college football. So what they'll be doing is cheating over the Kyle Kuzmas of the world, right, instead of the Zion Williamsons of the world. Kyle Kuzma stuck around for 4 years. Anything that gives you an edge. And a lower-level player will still give you an edge, so you'll cheat for them. So then the only thing you can do is just say wheels off, right? Anybody can pay anything. And the downside to that is it'll be the University of Texas and I don't know who's got the most money.
Alabama, right? It'll be Florida, UCLA if they want to. It'll be the biggest, richest, Michigan, Ohio State. The biggest, richest schools can outpay everybody. And like ADs, and I mean multiple ADs, have been telling me in the last week that eventually their players are going to get paid. Like they're throwing their hands up in the air because they see where it's going. Not that anybody wants it really to go there, but that's where it's going. But the whole deal about unintended consequences, you never know what's going to happen until you do something, and then the dominoes start falling, and you realize, oh crap, that didn't work. Well, if they open Pandora's box and start paying players, I don't even know. None of us even know what the unintended consequences are because they haven't happened yet. It's chaos theory. You don't know what happens next until the first thing happens. Well, it's going to be chaos. They start paying players. And I realize these guys are worth more than their scholarship. I've realized that. I'm not stupid. I do think, though, that once they start paying players, it's over. It'll take 5 or 10 years, but college sports will be killed.
That's good stuff, Greg. Always enjoy your perspective, man.
And I wasn't as arrogant as you this time. I was last time, but this time you took the cake, I thought.
You think I won the arrogance battle this time?
Don't you always? No, I'm joking. That was your word last week. I always like talking to you, Will. Hope to talk to you again
Thanks,
soon.
Greg. We'll keep talking. Bye. Take care, man. It's Gregg Doyell of the Indianapolis Star. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. Let me unpack that Pandora's box for a minute. There's 2 options we just laid out on how to solve this. One is just make everything criminal. The other is open Pandora's box for college sports. That, and why does LeBron James, and this isn't a LeBron James criticism, but why does he get a pass in walking into the world of talking politics? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Just a reminder, we've got breaking news in the NFL where the New York Times is reporting that Roger Goodell is set to fine Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones millions of dollars for the fight he took up in the fall, both over Ezekiel Elliott's suspension and Roger Goodell's compensation package. The key to the story are these words here. With the support of many NFL owners. This is a fight between Jerry Jones and his fellow owners who are urging Roger Goodell to fine Jerry Jones, to escalate his fight with Jerry Jones. And why? Because of these words here from the New York Times. Jones' actions were detrimental to the league, according to many of those owners. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's not about whether or not Jerry had a point. It's not about whether or not he's telling the truth, about whether or not due process and Ezekiel Elliott were set by the wayside. Just like with Mark Cuban, it wasn't about whether or not he told the truth about the Mavericks tanking. The truth isn't what matters. Right and wrong is not what matters when it comes to the NFL and the NBA or any business for that matter. What matters is, are you doing something that's detrimental to the league? That will get you a fine in the millions, apparently, in the NFL. And my guess is when it comes to Jerry Jones, that will get you a fight. We'll keep you updated on that story throughout the show. The Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the San Antonio Spurs yesterday. Just quick pointing out that I got a lot of flack for saying when the Cleveland Cavaliers were 2-0 after their trade, that they weren't a lock to win the East, that they were not a lock to go to the NBA Finals. Patrick Beverley, guard for the Los Angeles Clippers, called in and said, I don't know basketball. Since that little debate, since that little argument, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 1-2. And that hot shooting they had the first 2 games has cooled off. Ty Lue, by the way, this is from ESPN.com right now, is saying they need to get into the practice facility because everything with the Cavs right now is too predictable. Their offense, which has been simplified to accommodate all these new players, were predictable offensively, and teams are kind of sitting on that and taking advantage of that. I know I don't know basketball. I'm just saying those are the things that someone told you what was it, 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, that 2 games into a trade, you still don't know about chemistry, flow, monotony, the way this is all going to come together. But hey, I defer to the guys that know basketball. 2 games after a trade, whoop, lock for LeBron. Lock for the Cavs, representing the East. I'm not doing the thing in reverse, by the way. I'm not taking 3 games and telling you it's clear they're not. I'm not doing it in reverse. I think my point has been proven. Not a lock. A lot to still work out. After the game, Gregg Popovich was asked about LeBron James and the way he's been stepping out into the public on various important issues. I want to listen to this. Bubba, will you play this so we can talk about it here as we go? This is Gregg Popovich on LeBron James.
He's been a brilliant example for millions of kids, especially kids that have lesser opportunity who haven't had the same advantages of others.
Pause it right there, Bubba. That is absolutely and utterly true. Now, what Popovich is talking about here is he was asked about Laura Ingraham, the Fox News host, comments to LeBron James to shut up and dribble. Popovich was asked about that, and he's making a point that LeBron James is one of the most important voices, I believe he's going to say, in society. Now, I just want to take a moment every step along the way to tell you what he has said so far is absolutely true. LeBron James should be applauded, celebrated for the way he has conducted his life. It's not been perfect. He's made mistakes, but the mistakes have been minimal compared to the accomplishments. Where he came from and where he is an inspiration to many. And LeBron James is a role model. That's why it makes it so important what his words are on various topics. Go ahead, Bubba.
Especially kids that have lesser opportunity, who haven't had the same advantages of others. And they see in this guy somebody who's consistently exhibited excellence in the workplace. And it gives them a voice, lets them know that you can speak about anything. There really is a First Amendment, and I can have opinions.
Okay, pause it right there. This is where we start having disagreement, okay? Of course there's a First Amendment. It's not about can, it's about should. We all have the right, and LeBron James should have the right. Does have the right. The issue, to be clear, is whether or not he should speak on various issues. To be clear, I don't share Laura Ingram's opinion that he should shut up and dribble. I think he should speak on various issues. I want to hear his voice. I want to hear everyone's voice. Go ahead, Bubba.
You can speak about anything. There really is a First Amendment, and I can have opinions. As a coach, as a plumber, as an astrophysicist, as a lowly reporter. I can have whatever opinions I want, and that's what's amazing about this. When you look at this guy, how many millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars he's given, tens of millions of kids that see him, that are inspired by him. It's kind of like the Black Panther movie. It's how cool is that for kids to see that and have that superhero? Well, now LeBron's been that for a long time. And for somebody to be totally numb to that and attack him in such a childish way really speaks more volumes about that individual than it does LeBron. He's very, very special. We should all be very proud that we have somebody like that who's willing to speak about a variety of topics, and you've listened to them all.
All right, couple things. I saw Black Panther this weekend. It's good. It's good. I don't know if it's the best superhero movie ever. I don't know what would be better. Maybe the first Avengers, the first Iron Man. Like when those came out, those are pretty groundbreaking, but so was this. I will say, to Gregg Popovich's point here, the end of the movie, I don't want to ruin anything. Actually, I can't do spoilers. It is an inspiration. It's an inspiration for kids who haven't had those kind of heroes to look up to. But here's the key. I heard Jason Whitlock talking this morning. He's a Fox Sports analyst, and I think he's insightful on many things. He's wrong on others. But LeBron James' fame and his background, he has every right to speak out. He should speak out. But it doesn't inoculate him against criticism. You should still be able to criticize and say where he's wrong. He should talk, and we should be able to talk. He should say what he thinks, and we should be free to tell where we think he's wrong. No one gets a pass. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.